If you're still building in City Skylines 1, you already know the biggest challenge is not just traffic math, it is keeping the mod stack alive. A lot of older guides are out of date. Some recommend abandoned tools, broken dependencies, or setups do not hold up well when the city gets large. So today, we're pulling back the curtain. This is my current stable 2026 production configuration for baseline execution. The mod stack I use to build, manage, detail, and record Ridgewater County. Fire up the terminals, let's look at the stack. Phase 1 is stability and management. Skyve is the control center. It gives the stack structure, helps track dependencies, and keeps the setup from turning into a blind pile of workshop subscriptions. Harmony and patch loaders sit underneath the stack as dependency support. Loading screen mod revisited helps manage the load process, while FPF booster gives the legacy engine some much needed breathing room once the build starts getting heavy. Then we use tools like UI resolution, yet another toolbar, and watch it revisited to keep the interface readable, organized, and monitored while the city grows. Phase 2 is roads, traffic, and control. This is where the build stops being a loose city layout and starts becoming an actual infrastructure system. TMPE stable is the anchor. It handles lane behavior, intersection rules, priorities, restrictions, and the traffic logic that the vanilla game cannot manage on its own. Network anarchy, network multi-tool, and node controller renewal gives us control over geometry. They let us shape roads, nodes, curves, slopes, and junctions with far more precision. Then intersection marking tool, line tool, precision engineering, and high TMP crosswalks let us clean up the corridors so the network looks intentional, not just functional. Phase 3 is build tools and placement. This is where City Skylines 1 becomes a sandbox instead of just a zoning simulator. 81 Tiles 2 opens the full regional canvas. Move It gives us direct control over placement, alignment, spacing, and cleanup. Find It 2 and Picker are what make hand building practical, because they let us quickly search for and reuse the assets we actually need. Ploppable Rico Revisited is a major part of the workflow because we're not relying only on random zoning. We can place residential, commercial, industrial, and civic assets intentionally. Game Anarchy, Parking Lot Snapping, and Transfer Manager CE round out the system by giving the build more flexibility and better control behind the scenes. Phase 4 is detailing and environment. This is where we strip away the stock look and start giving the county its own texture. Bob lets us replace trees and props when an asset does not quite match the visual language of the build. Extra landscaping tools, Forest Brush Revisited, Surface Painter, and Theme Decals Renewed let us shape terrain, vegetation, pavement, dirt, fields, and worn edges by hand. Prop control, tree control, and visibility control are there to keep the detailing workflow flexible as the scene gets heavier. This is the difference between a city that is simply working and a place that actually feels built. Phase 5 is recording and presentation. This channel depends on controlled camera work, clean UI, and repeated cinematic movement. Acme and Cinematic Camera Extended give us the camera control needed for low angles, long tracking shots, and smoother framing than the vanilla game allows. Lumina handles the visual profile. Hide It, Toggle It, and Play It help control what appears on the screen, how the simulation behaves, and how clean the final shot feels. That is what lets a city builder episode move like a planning documentary instead of just a screen recording. That is the baseline execution manifest. 38 core mods, organized into a stable production stack for realistic City Skylines 1 building in 2026. This is not every mod. It is not every workshop subscription. It is the foundation, the tool set that makes the Ridgewater County workflow possible. If you want to see this framework under real pressure, Ridgewater County is where the system gets tested. Roads, services, utilities, residential growth, industrial pressure, and long-term regional planning. And remember, Start from a baseline, build with intent, let the systems prove the design.